What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the vlog and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be installing the carbon fiber AFE intake on the E90 M3.
It's calling me, like the rainbow, It's calling me, like the rainbow.
Whoa, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It is true, the AFE carbon fiber intake finally came in. Super excited to put this on the car. I don't really have any carbon, well, I don't have any carbon fiber at all in the engine bay, so it will be nice to add a little bit of that carbon fiber drip on the engine bay. You guys know the F30 had all kinds of carbon fiber going on. The M3 doesn't really have much. Also, we just dropped some E90 merch. If you guys are interested, that is on the website and I'll link it down in the description for you guys. And of course, all of the sales from that help this channel grow, help me be able to continue what I do as a content creator. All right, so the carbon fiber intake just got here from AFE. It looks super clean. I've got the filter still in the box. Here is the carbon fiber. Yes, looks good. I'm not huge on having the logo up front, but they did make the product, so I guess I understand from brand and promotional purposes. The install of this intake should be really easy. I haven't done any other performance upgrades to this BMW M3 except for the exhaust. So this will be the second performance upgrade. Intakes don't really do that much, maybe a couple of horsepower, but I am interested to hear how this sounds. It might sound a little bit different in the engine. So we're gonna throw it on the car and I'm gonna show you guys the before and after, let you guys hear the car at revs with the intake off and the intake on. Show you the full install process and then we'll go for a little ride and we'll see if I feel a difference. Man, this thing sounds good with those valves open. Woo! So a lot of you guys were complaining about these tips coming too far out. Obviously you guys can run yours however you want. These are fully adjustable, you can spin them around, you can do whatever you want. But I actually really like the way that the tips look on the car. Super aggressive, clean. So when it comes to what I'm doing, obviously I'm partnering up with brands and I'm promoting their products. And part of that, you need to be able to represent the company's brand logo. So that's why those are sticking out. But I actually really do like the way that it looks. I think it's clean. I think it looks really good. Bay and I had a little wash yesterday. Just looking super nice. Man, I love this car. The only thing we need to do really are some headlights. We gotta get some different headlights in this car, but it is looking good. All right, we're gonna head and get some coffee first because you know coffee's life and I can't do anything without that. Grab the coffee and then we will start installing this intake. It's gonna be at least 100 horsepower, you guys. I'm just kidding. So intakes are like that funny modification. It's like, you know you gotta do it because it's an intake, but does it really make any big performance gains? No, very minimal performance gains. But it does sound cool. In some cars, like especially when I did the F30 intake, it sounded unreal. And it also looks a lot better. The intake tubing that I have in my car right now on the S65 is actually like kind of falling apart. Well, not falling apart, just like worn out. It just doesn't really look that good. So why not upgrade it to some carbon fiber? I mean, that's what we do, right? So we're gonna go ahead and throw this in. I'm actually really excited. I haven't done an intake on this car yet. I haven't really worked on this car that much. A lot of the work that I've been doing has just been happening at the shop. The internals, rod bearings, valve cover gaskets, exhaust, suspension, stuff like that. Things that I don't really have the tools for in my garage, so I do kind of miss just working on my car in my garage. And this intake is an easy one, it's perfect for us. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in today and show you guys how to do it. It is very easy. So if you guys get this intake or really any other intake on the E90, it's probably the same process, I would assume. And then after that, we'll go for a little ride and I'll tell you guys if I feel any differences. I don't think I will. Maybe, hopefully, gas mileage will get better. I mean, that's one thing that we can hope for in the S65 when you're just drinking that fuel up. But it is possible that it could sound cooler, sound different. You never know how that's gonna react. What happened? You guys weren't supposed to fall down, man. You're supposed to show like cool B-roll. So a common complaint with like the DCTs is the clunkiness, especially at like low RPMs. And when you think about like stop and go traffic, like it's very clunky. The PowerFlex motor mounts completely resolves that. The car just feels incredibly solid. And I now understand why people who track these cars all upgrade to the PowerFlex motor mounts. They're incredible. So those OEM motor mounts just tend to fail at some point, and they're just too soft. So you upgrade to these PowerFlex ones and they are incredible. And if you want, you can even make them more stiff. They're adjustable, which is really cool. Let's go ahead, throw this bad girl in the garage, get this intake installed, bruh. Gotta get those surgeon gloves on, you know? Anytime I pop this hood, I check for leaks, just cause it's an S65 and that's the life we live. Start pulling things out. So first we have the carbon fiber intake tube. Looks real clean. Next we have a couple of clamps. Then we have this silicone tubing, instruction manual, and the actual filter. So these are just some basic revs with the stock intake setup. So the first one was valve closed, second one was valve open. Just so you can kind of hear the intake a little bit more than the exhaust, because the exhaust is kind of loud, especially in this little garage. So here is the actual filter, the cone filter that they give you. It is blue, but the color doesn't really matter because this is covered up by the stock air box, which I actually like. So the only thing exposed is the carbon fiber. Gives you like a OE look, I guess you could say. But I think that that is like the best approach for an intake setup for this car. It looks very clean and simple. So we got everything laid out here. You're gonna be using a T25 and a 7mm socket. We have, I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total T25s around the air box. We're gonna be taking off this air box. And then here's the tubing. Like I said, these are 7mm, these little clamp nuts right here. And then for this sensor, it's very simple. You just press down, pull out. And that guy will just sit right there. It's gonna plug into the aftermarket one. And we're pretty much good. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off all this stuff, pull this out, and I'll show you the install. So you guys will see that I left the screws in here. I didn't back them out all the way just because I didn't want to lose any while I was actually working on the car. Look at this nasty filter. We're gonna clean while we're in here too, because this is like super, super gross. So you know me, being the OCD freak I am. We are gonna take all this out. Should have been replaced a long time ago. Good thing that we're replacing that now. That's foul. So I have everything loose. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the filter and the rest of this stuff, and then we will start cleaning the inside of here because I just want that to be clean. All right, much cleaner. Looks a lot better. Kind of cleaned up all around here too, this tubing into the manifold area. Then obviously the box is all cleaned up. It was super nasty. You also have to understand that this is actually functional. This air duct goes into the air box for airflow, obviously. So you are gonna get some stuff that goes in there, whether it be leaves, dirt, pebbles, whatever. So anything that's on the road, might be a good idea to like check up on that every now and then. Make sure that your filter is clean. All right, so now we're prepped. We can go ahead and put in the new air intake system. From what I understand, the best way to do this is to assemble it first and then go ahead and throw it onto the car. All right, so first part was to just wrap this silicone part around the carbon fiber portion. Make sure that you put your clamps on here before you put this in the car. It is pretty tight, just gotta kind of work at it. From what I understand, getting this end onto the actual plenum is super tight, so we'll probably have to work that in quite a little bit. There we go. Got the intake part on. Kind of a pain to get on, just gotta keep working it. Also make sure that you don't over tighten this because you are tightening onto carbon. I also face the seam downwards so you don't see it when you open the airbox. I always point these little clamping screws facing up so when it's in the car, you can access it in case you need to. So from here, we just throw on the second one, right? And then push it towards the inside and go ahead and get this onto the actual plenum. Then we just connect our adapter, put on the airbox, and we should be good to go. All right. So I just want to show you guys what I did, and maybe this is a better method for you guys. Leave this one loose because I had to adjust the depth of this silicone adapter piece. And I actually ended up moving the whole thing in a little bit, pulling a little bit off of the carbon and a little more onto the plenum. But now we got it good, nice and even. Everything lines up over here. This all seats into the airbox really well. So it looks like a good fit. So now we can go ahead and start tightening down these clamps, put back on the airbox, and then put this guy back in, and we should be good to go. All right, got everything in. It's nice and secured, lines up well. The cone portion sits right in the airbox just like it should. Everything's clamped down, tightened. So now let's turn on the car, see how it sounds, and make sure that we aren't throwing any codes. So it didn't really sound any different. Sounds the same as far as I can tell. I'm gonna take the car out for a spin, make sure that everything is clamped on. You always wanna make sure anytime you work on your car, especially like a little intake or something like that, go for a drive, make sure all the clamps are holding up, nothing comes loose. I do have to say it is nice having a little bit of carbon fiber in the engine bay. Obviously the cone was in much better condition than my stock one, but let's go for a little cruise and see if we feel any difference. Oh, it's definitely louder. It's definitely louder under load, and you can hear it when you really get on it. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it has like a growl to it. It's that's like the only way to explain it. It's got much more of a growl to it. Now, it's important to note that, you know, when you do an intake on like the F30, for example, you are gonna hear a lot more action coming from that intake because part of that is playing a role into the turbo spooling, and it just becomes much louder. That was definitely the case when I did it with the F30. However, with an NA, it's gonna be a little bit different. You're not gonna hear as much whooshing. You're just gonna hear more of the effects of having a better flow from the cone and the intake tubing itself. Couldn't really hear it when you were revving it in the garage, but once you're actually on it under load, it sounds really good. It is way louder. In terms of performance, I don't know if I really feel anything. I wasn't really expecting to feel anything anyways, but there is performance gains. I mean, it's so minimal, you guys, like 2 to 4 horsepower or something like that. Oh my God, it sounds sick. It sounds so good. Oh my gosh. Dude, it sounds so good. That was only to 6,500. This car goes up to 8,250. Wow. Yeah, man, this thing sounds really good. It's drastic. It's pretty drastic. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a difference when I heard it in the garage, but once you're actually driving the car under load, man, it sounds amazing. All right, so like I was saying before, after you do something like this, drive around a little bit, just want to make sure that everything is fastened nice and tightly. Nothing came loose. Looks good. Everything's secured. We We did a good job. Good job today, guys. Man, I'm just overall really happy with the way that it looks. I'm not a huge fan of giant labels. You know, like if you do like the Dine-In or the Venturi, it's a little more subtle. I think AFE could have done like a little bit better of not making this so gaudy and in your face, but with that being said, the price point of this intake is relatively cheap compared to all of the other intakes that are carbon fiber, so that's kind of why I went for it. I didn't want to spend like $1,000 on a tiny intake, whereas this one was like in the 400s or something. All that aside, and aside from my nitpicking, it does look really good, it does sound really good, and the overall peace of mind knowing that you have an upgraded intake with a larger, nice, free-flowing filter, it's just better for the car overall. So yeah, man, this thing is really coming along. Having a ton of fun working on it, having an absolute blast doing modifications to it. Now that we have all the rod bearings and all the things that generally go wrong with the car taken care of, I feel really confident in the car's ability and just the overall reliability of it. All right, so there you guys go. AFE carbon fiber intake. Huge shout out to Keys Motorsports and AFE for sending me this intake. If you guys are interested in getting one for your M3, E90, E92, E93, whatever it may be, they make them for all of those cars. And they also make this intake for all of like the E90 base models and whatnot. Hopefully you guys learned something today and enjoyed this video. If so, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you are new here, comment down below, hit that bell notification, and just like that, this video is over, and I'm out. Peace.